classmates, to our teacher in FMINST2, Sir John Ray A. Aquino, a pleasant afternoon to everyone. Before I formally start my presentation, allow me first to introduce myself. I am Francis F. Dela Cruz, the presenters of this presentation. Now, let's proceed to our presentation. At this juncture, may I formally read to you the content of my presentation. The content of my presentation contains the objective, problem statement, and the guide question. Now, let's proceed to our presentation by discussing to you or presenting to you the objective of my project. This project aims to provide an innovative and creative shelters for the dogs. Number 2 is that I wanted to help dog owners of Barangay Furao Gamu, Isabela on managing their dog to prevent them from scattering in the street, which decreases the possibility of any accidents to human. Number 3, I want to raise public awareness regarding sharing our space within dogs. And lastly, I wanted to educate the residents of Barangay Furao, Gamu, Isabela on becoming responsible dog owners. And that's the objective of my project. Now, let's proceed to our next presentation, which is the problem statement. Here in the problem statement, nag-focus lang ako or nag-come up lang ako sa isang problem which is very timely na nangyayari sa aming barangay, which is the proper shelter or the lack of shelters for the dog. So, here is the 3 questions that I construct based na rin sa problem na na-come up ko. Number 1 is that, how can I help the dog owners of Barangay Furao, Gamu, Isabela on managing their dogs to prevent them from scattering on the street and minimize the possibility of human accidents? So, nag-come up ako sa question na to kasi one of the problem that arising in my community is the proper shelters or the lack of shelters for the dog. And also, nakikita ko rin that a lot of stray dogs or street dogs na tinatawag that roaming around the street, in which nagkakos ngayon ng different incident, like for example, yung pangangagat ng aso sa mga tao, in which I wanted to prevent all of that. So, nag-come up ako sa question na yan. Number 2 is that how can I help or how can I educate the people of Barangay Furao, Gamu, Isabela to be responsible dog owner? Since a lot of dog owners in my community are too irresponsible, nag-come up ako ngayon sa question na yan because nakikita ko that a lot of dog owners are too irresponsible for their dogs, in which they forget them to provide the necessity. For example, the foods, the proper shelters na tulugan nila, in which this question that I come up is that I wanted to address or I wanted to educate the people, especially the dog owners. Kaya nag-come up ako sa idea na yan. The last question under the problem statement is, how can I promote awareness to the dog owners of Barangay Furao, Gamu, Isabela regarding sharing our space with dogs? So, nag-come up ako sa question na yan because I just wanted to remind the people in my community that dog is a part of our family, part of our society that na kailangan rin natin alagaan ng maayos, kailangan rin natin bigyan ng atensyon, and kailangan rin natin bigyan ng tamang necessities. Like for example, yung mga sinabi ko kanina, which is the proper shelters or proper shelters for the dog, proper foods that they eat, in which sometimes nakakalimutan yon ibigay ng mga dog owners sa kanilang mga alagang aso. There are some instances also that a lot of dog owners are mistreated their dogs. Minsan ina-abuse nila yung mga kanilang aso, in which in which hindi nila pinapakain ng maayos, pinapalo nila, in which nakikita ko yan lahat sa aming community, in which kaya nag-come up ako sa question na yan, just to remind the people, just to remind them that dog is a part of our family and part of our society that we need to protect and care of. Kaya nag-come up ako sa question na yan. Now, let's proceed to our last presentation, which is the guide question. Here in the guide question, there are 4 questions that need to be answered. So, number 1, what is the problem or issue all about? One of the issue or problem that the residents of Barangay Furao, Gamu, Isabela dealing with is about the lack of shelters for the dog, in which a lot of dogs are roaming around in the street, and sometimes this can cause inconvenience and fear to the people in my community. Furthermore, this issue or problem might cause accidents to the people since a lot of dogs are roaming around the street. This issue or problem might turn into another problem if not addressed correctly. Number 2 question is, who needs help? The owners and the dogs of Barangay Furao, Gamu, Isabela. One of the problems that need to be addressed is the lack of proper shelters for the dogs. Since this is a current problem or issue in my community, as an innovator, I wanted to help those dog owners to provide a shelter or home for their dogs in order to reduce or minimize the accidents caused by dog bite incidents and prevent their dogs from roaming around the street. Also, I wanted to educate the people in my community on how to become a good or responsible dog owners. Number 3 question is that what is currently being done to address the problem? According to the Office of the Governor here in Isabela, one of the ordinances that were implemented to address the problem is the provision of the Republic Act number 9482 or the Anti-Rabies Act of 2007, such as keeping dogs and other pets in cages, kennels, or on leash as a measure against the spread of rabies infection and to prevent and reduce stray dog bite incidents and reduce the health risks, inconvenience, and expensive treatment costs that accompany cases of animal bites and rabies infection. In the said ordinance given by the Office of the Governor here in Isabela, the local government unit of Gamu, Isabela conduct a yearly house-to-house vaccination for the dogs and also conduct a seminar or meeting educating and sharing awareness with the resident, especially to the dog owners. And the last question is, what factors contribute to the problem? One of the factors that contribute to the problem, I think, it boils down to the people or the dog owners of the community. Sometimes, dog owners are being irresponsible and forget to give the needs of their dogs, like they forget them to give a comfortable and clean place to sleep, foods to eat, and furthermore, they forget to give attention, care, love to their dogs. And that's my presentation all about. Thank you for listening. Muli, ako po si Francis F. Dela Cruz, the presenter of this presentation. Thank you.